guys.
Hola.
Welcome to Sippin and Spillin with Sid and Mike from 3 Mississippi. Hello.
We are sipping.
We are sipping.
And what are we spilling today?
Oh my gosh, I'm exhausted. I really am. I feel like
I'm still in my Sunday go to meeting clothes because I haven't changed yet. You changed.
I changed after church. Well, I changed. We went after church. We went to Sunday lunch. And
everywhere.
Then we drove all around because we've got Jen with us still. My friend from California who's fixing to move out here, so she's trying to find, if we can find a house. So we were driving around looking at properties.
We drove everywhere.
And we drove everywhere. So up into Pontotoc, and I know where the Seafood Junction place is now because we drove right by it.
I know where Gray's tire place is now because we drove right by it.
Yep.
We drove everywhere.
We did. We drove a lot. So, and Jen and I, the day before, drove everywhere. So I feel like I've been driving a lot.
Been everywhere twice.
Yeah, which is good though, because it's kind of helping me too, kind of learn the layout of the land a little bit.
I've been everywhere, man.
Yeah, I do tend to go to like the same, like 3 places essentially.
Somebody name that song. I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere.
But it's been good to kind of like drive around, but it is stressful. Like even though I have no skin in the game, like it's not my house that I'm looking for. It's stressful. Like I feel the stress of trying to find a property and looking at these places and picking them apart, and the figuring out if the.
I'm hearing her on the phone with him, and he's trying to understand.
Yeah, because her husband. Yeah, her husband's still in California. He didn't come out here to look at the houses, so she's having to relay the information. And then in certain situations, if it's something structural with the house or something about.
Well, we looked at one house. There was literally like a hump in the floor.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know about this.
It was like, and we're not exaggerating. Like it was a hump in the floor, and there was like cracks coming down the wall.
So I went and like found a spot
like
where there was a crawl space under the house, and shined a light up in there. And they had Brant recently put some timbers in there on top of some concrete blocks, and then drove some wooden wedges in to shove the timbers up against the floor to hold the floor. The house was falling down. Like
legitimately falling down.
Yeah.
But which is a shame because the house itself, while run down, had good potential. The location of the house was not great, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. It was right on by like a highway.
Yeah, I didn't really see a lot of potential there. The property was too sloped. There was it had a lot of strikes.
It did.
If you just took a photograph and did a little Photoshop on it, clean it up, the house looked pretty.
Looks really
You could
nice,
take a good picture of the house.
Yeah.
But it had a lot of check marks against it.
But anyway, so I mean, it's a stressful thing, and I feel like I'm going through it all over again by proxy with, helping them try to, because once they find a place, then it's going to be, okay, I have to go out there, help them move a load out here, and help get them settled. So, and of course, we want ideally them to be at least in the same county as us, so that the girls...
that can't be a criteria.
Well, no, but it would be
nice if the girls could
be at the same school area together, activities together, things like that would be easier if we were close.
I feel like we found them a house.
I do too.
But they're not feeling it.
They're not in love with it.
They're not feeling it the way I'm feeling it.
I feel like they're wrong, but that's a whole...
Yeah.
But it's their decision,
It's their
and
house.
we love them, and we want them to be happy, so... but that's really been, it's been so nice having her here the last few days, and we've got another day and a half where she's here before she has to go back to her mother-in-law's and then fly back out to California. But it was nice to see her because it's been 2 months really since I saw her, and a little over 2 months because that's how long we've been here. And it's we, not that we don't talk on the phone almost every day, but Mike can attest to that. Sometimes he's like, how long have you guys been on the phone? And I'm like, but we're both like, we'll put each other on speakerphone.
2 hours later.
We'll put each other on speakerphone while we're like cleaning or doing something, and just have it's almost like we're in the same room together, and we just have a conversation where there'll be like stretches of silence, or one kid comes in and starts talking to us, and we just sit there and listen. And
I could leave the house, be gone for a decade, solve the energy crisis, come back, and she's still on the phone with Jen. Like, have you got off you on the same call? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that happens. I know.
One time I mowed the whole yard while they were on the phone.
Yeah. But I cleaned the house. So it wasn't like I'm just sitting there talking on the phone for 2 hours.
So any of you guys that watched the excursion in the creek with the 3 girls.
So I have to give you the backstory on this. I'll give you the G-rated backstory. So Mike stayed up a little bit too late. Mike slept in to the point where I was like, we need to go adventuring. We need to go film something, or we're not going to have a video ready in time, because we were going to go shoot a few other things with him in the tractor, and I was going to work up that video for Sunday. Well, I realized at a certain point that that was not going to happen. So I said to Jen, I was like, how do you feel about going down into the creek? And she was like, okay, let's go. So we loaded up and, you know, decided to go down there, just us girls. And I knew if I didn't take, like, I took my side piece and we went out there and, of course, didn't run into anything, because if I had left it at home,
There'd have been snakes.
Yeah, there would have been something. So,
yeah, I mean, it's still.
I mean,
There's still snakes out.
Yeah, it's still warm enough. Yeah, it's like, it's not.
Potentially water moccasins down there.
Yeah.
Though it's not really a creek. We call it the creek.
It's the fire swamp.
It's a ditch.
I call it the fire swamp.
It's a big ditch.
Yeah.
That sometimes has water in it.
Yeah.
And but it's a ditch that's been there
there's
a long.
There's fish down there sometimes, and there's
Yeah, it connects with another creek, and like after a good rain event, it washes fish down, and you'll see a big old hole with, like, you know, bass and bluegill in it.
Yeah.
And then it starts to, like, slowly dry out, and then you see a lot of raccoon tracks, and then there's no more fish.
And there's no more fish. Yeah.
That's how that works.
The thing to do would be to, like, when that happens, is go down there and catch them once you get the pond cleaned out and stuff, and then go throw those in the pond to stock the pond.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we had fun. It was fun. You know, Jen hadn't been here. She's seen a million pictures. She's seen videos just like you guys have of the property, but she hasn't been here. So it was really nice to be able to, like, have her here in the flesh and show her around. And we drove her all around the pastures.
But that ditch has been there for
a long time.
I mean,
realistically,
thousands of years.
Yeah.
It's been you know, a natural drainage, right? Yeah. And it's deep. It's like the walls of this thing are super deep just from erosion over time, right? Well, what I didn't know until I started doing this research because of Frankie's find, I didn't know that this entire area in the Cretaceous period was underwater. This was a shallow ocean here, and
which is weird to, like, think about. You look at all the trees and the greenery and to think that this was underwater.
Yeah, 65 million years ago, this was the ocean right here.
I mean,
and Frankie and I had found a shell that looked kind of like an oyster shell that was broken
when you were deer scouting or something.
When we were out there before. Yeah. But this time when they came back, Frankie came back with this. Let me show this to y'all. Look at this shell, right?
Cool.
This is really cool. And it's fossilized. I mean, it's a rock.
Yeah, she cleaned it all out. The first thing she did when she got home was clean all her finds out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I immediately, like, I start Googling this, and that's when I discovered that this was an ocean here. This shell right here is over 65 million years old.
Yeah.
They call it a Exogyra oyster. And there were several varieties of it, but like the last variety of it went extinct 65 million years ago. So this could be as old as 100 million.
It was a true delicacy.
Right. So this thing was alive right here where we are, under the water in an ocean when dinosaurs were roaming the earth.
Crazy to think
about. That is awesome.
Yeah.
So
we didn't find arrowheads. We were looking. But we did find.
So now I'm all fired up. Frankie and I are gonna plan. We're gonna plan a little excursion, get down in there. During my process of researching this, and this is a really good specimen too. Yeah. When I was looking them up,
the other piece that, like, goes over. Well, we don't know for sure if it goes with this one, but it seems to kind of fit. So I think it might be. There was the other round. I don't know if you watched the video of the creek.
The other valve, yeah. So these things lived on the ocean floor like this, and the top valve, I think it's like the left valve, would open like this for it to feed, and I guess it was a filtering, filtering feeder. So it kind of helped clean the ocean water, but it was super heavy. And but anyway, all the ones that I saw online, some of the best specimens looked pretty much like this. I mean, this is completely intact, so
Yeah.
it's pretty cool. But
Yeah. And then we found that other piece that I guess is part of it that sits
part of the top,
part of the top
the other
that
side
was fossilized like right next to it. We found it. So I'm like, I'm assuming it's from the same one, but who knows? But I mean, it was pretty cool to find that.
And when I was researching this, I found that in our area, a lot of people also find fossilized shark's teeth.
Mm-hmm.
There's a ton of fossilized shark's teeth.
That
they have been found.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to be like big, right?
And a couple
like
of the
my size. They were giant.
They're a little bigger than you.
No, the teeth would be as big as me.
No, I mean a megalodon tooth could be that big. I mean, I've seen them that big,
I feel
but
like
they're not
as big as me.
They're not quite that big.
No.
But yeah, so you know these big ditches like this one on our property, you know, over tens and hundreds of thousands and millions of years, you know, a lot of these types of things get filtered down into those ditches, and every time there's a big rain event, new stuff is unearthed and washed up. And one of the guys I was watching on YouTube last night, he was in a big ditch kind of like the one on our property where the walls are really high, and he was like 3-4 feet up on the wall digging in, finding stuff in the wall. Because think about think about how many feet of sediment was on the bottom of the ocean, right? Over millions of years of sediment buildup, and then the ocean, you know, goes out, and you got, you know, climate change, and you get glaciers up there, and all the water changes where it's at, and then you have dry land here, and then you start having ditches of erosion cutting into what used to be the seafloor.
Right.
So this ditch that we have on our property that's like in some places 20 feet deep, the wall of that thing is like going back in time. So I'm excited to get in there now, and then on top of that, you know, just several hundred years ago, there were Indians here.
Oh yeah.
All over the place.
Which is, I mean, yeah, we haven't found anything down there yet that
we haven't really looked. We haven't really searched for arrowheads.
I mean, we were kind of looking. I mean, I don't know, how does one look for one thing over another when you're walking through the thing? We weren't like getting down there with shovels or anything, but I mean, as a couple people said, oh, you should dry pan for gold while the creek is dry.
I did some research on that too. This area is not very big in the heavy metals.
Yeah.
A lot of agate in this area, but a lot of arrowheads. And what I see a lot of people doing is you'll find an area. So this is kind of a flat bottom. I mean, it has eroded all the way down to the limestone, right? Mm-hmm. But in areas, there'll be like a big rock or boulder or a big tree, right? And as there's been a rain event and some of this gravel and stuff has come down, it kind of catches on the leading edge of that. So a lot of people are saying when you find a big rock or a big boulder or a big tree that's in there and you got gravel on the leading edge, and kind of that's where you want to get in there, get some shovel loads of that out, and then run it through. I'll just make a little frame and put like some 1/4-inch hardware cloth on it.
Like we used to do when you were
like I did for my gardening.
Your garden, yeah. Get the rocks and the grubs out.
That's going to be fun.
Yeah.
And we'll see what we find. I mean, that ditch runs the length of our 45-acre property.
Yeah.
So we have...
There's a lot of... and we still haven't gone to the whole other side of the creek.
We've only looked at half of it.
And we only peeked from the top. We didn't like walk down. Yeah.
There's a lot to explore down there. There's easily 1,000 yards.
Yeah. And now, I mean, right now while it's dry, while we're having a little bit of a dry spell, is the time to go down there and really explore and really walk the whole length of it. I mean, right now you really can walk the whole length of it pretty easily.
And we did have a couple of big rain events this year.
Yeah.
And we know that there hasn't been anybody else, like in some areas, like where public can access it. Who knows how many people have gone down in and found the low-hanging fruit, the easy finds, right? I bet you there hadn't been anybody in that ditch looking for stuff for a long time.
No, I think probably
if ever.
when, when the previous owner's kids were little. they used to kind of go down there a little bit more, but they really stayed more to this side, from what I understand.
And did they relic hunt? I mean, some of this stuff was like easy finds, just laying there.
Yeah, it's literally like the shells we found so far have all been just like walking down the main, what I would call like the main path from like where the deer feeder is down, is like one of the easiest places to get down into the creek, and then just walking down,
just right down
the way the water would flow.
And just look down and something's obvious and you pick it up. We haven't even like got down on our knees and started sifting through gravel to find arrowheads or shark's teeth. So
yeah, and it's all like it's all just like essentially like river rock, creek rock down there right now. And then there's a layer of leaves right now because it's fall, and a lot of the sweet gums are starting to drop leaves. So it's and
but I'll take a leaf blower.
There's a bunch of acorns down there too right now.
I saw in your video there's a ton of acorns, and some of them you were filming, and I saw some that were eaten partially.
Yep.
So there's something down in there eating those acorns.
Yeah, so that's why it was a girls' adventure, and Mike didn't come with us. But we had a good time. Like, it was fun going down there and exploring, kind of without him a little bit, just to kind of check everything out. And we had fun. We had fun doing that. But yeah, we'll have to get down there again before the next big rain and really take a peek. And
then after the big rain. I mean, every time there's a big rain event, it's going to be
stuff around.
Yeah, it's going to be new.
But it's the idea being, it would be cool to walk the whole length of the creek until you run into a wall, or until you can't go anymore, until you hit the end of your property line, or until you hit an obstacle that you can't get through, or whatever. To walk that whole thing, because we haven't done that yet.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to get Frankie to go down there with me next weekend, and I'll take a leaf blower with me, and we'll just pick a 10-foot section, blow the leaves off of it, and then just like get down on our hands and knees and just focus.
Yeah.
Just focus.
Yeah.
And see what we find. I bet you we don't get far. I bet we don't get more than 100 feet.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking, and then, you guys will be seeing it the day we get it, but tomorrow we're supposed to go get potentially his tractor, the Kubota. And then, so that's kind of a big deal. But I'm hoping that next weekend we can go, or maybe even sometime during this week, we can start getting some of the materials, and we can start, next weekend, we can start building the coop.
Really?
Yeah.
That's what you're hoping?
That's what I'm hoping. I feel like we need to start building. The weather's perfect. There's no rain. I feel like it's go time. And I feel like...
Look, the way the weather's been this weekend, if we didn't have everything going on I could have built this week. I mean, I could have worked outside all day for a couple days this weekend. Yeah. There's just some stuff I haven't figured out yet about the foundation.
Okay.
I haven't decided. Here's what I'm thinking. We'll just hash this out right now, even though we haven't talked about it.
Fair enough. Here it is.
I'm thinking I want to pour a concrete footer all the way around the outside of it.
Yes.
And lay blocks.
Okay.
And go like 2 cinder blocks high.
Okay.
And then fill some of those block holes with concrete, put J-bolts in, lay a 2x6 down, and then build walls up from there.
I'm not mad at that.
But that's a project.
Well, yeah, it's a project.
That's a decent amount of concrete.
It needs to be as predator-proof as possible, otherwise it's pointless.
Right. So
that's my
in order to do that, I have to dig a square ditch, fill that ditch build some forms on top of it, a little bit, not much, and then fill that with concrete.
Right.
And level that out, and then lay blocks on top of that. I mean, that's several days of work right there before I can even start building.
That's okay. It needs to start. You gotta start somewhere. I mean, I feel like we need to get started on a project. I feel like I'm very antsy at this point, and I feel like we need to just dig in and start. And if we have to, for whatever reason, whether it's weather or whatever, where we have to pause on this a little bit and maybe work on this for a little while, that's cool. But let's get started. Let's get rolling, and then we can go at that point. It's like, well, we can switch gears and work on something in the workshop if we get bad weather or whatever, and then we can switch back out when it's good weather, and we can I feel like I feel like that's a good idea.
The downside to the concrete footing and block foundation, um, you're not changing your mind. That's where it's at. You're not next year saying, God, I wish we'd have built a chicken coop over there.
Well, I realize that. I realize that.
I mean,
And but
where it is where it is.
but
At
that's
that
okay.
point.
I mean, I feel like if we build it right and we have it laid out the way that we drew it out, I feel like I will be happy with that. I feel like it will work, and I feel like it will keep them safe. And I think that's the biggest thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there is no guarantee when it comes to predators
No,
down
but
here.
I mean, you can.
But we can make them work really hard for it.
Right. Well, and that's also why I think, again, which I think I mentioned the other day, it might have been in the live that I mentioned that, yeah, because you weren't here. It was the live
That was when I
on
was
Friday.
gone, taking
It was
the
when you were
four-wheeler to
taking
the
the
shop.
four-wheeler in with Ryan. Yeah. So he got back at the tail end of the live, but on 3 Mississippi on Friday. But, you know, I was thinking about it, you know, since it first came up about the fact that it's going to take about 1.5 years to get whatever guard dog really acclimated and trained properly to really be effective.
Right, because we're not even going to get it till spring.
Right. So
And it'll be a pup.
I think we need to get a donkey to be out on the pasture with, like, in the same paddock area, basically pendant area as the birds, and then as there's more livestock added, they will help deter all of.
We're going to need to talk about that.
Okay. Well, I just think it's something to think about. We have
Because there's fencing that needs built.
I understand that. I understand that.
I had not budgeted fencing into either the financial budget or the time budget for the chicken coop.
I get that. But it doesn't have to be in the same, like, we'll work on the details of that. But I think that whole area, it would help.
Plus, I don't like donkeys.
But they are good right out the gate. Whatever you have out there, including the dog, will be protected until, you know what I mean? So, anyway, I just think it's a good place to start.
Yeah, I want to do some of my own research on that. I know donkeys hate dogs. Donkeys will protect anything from coyotes.
They don't, well,
So
they have to be raised together. So,
But I don't think donkeys are going to protect chickens from possums in the middle of the night. I do not. No.
probably not something small like that, no.
But your dogs will.
Correct.
We'll talk about it.
We'll talk about it.
She just wants another animal.
I want a donkey.
She's like, I need a reason to get a donkey.
I don't need a reason. I have a reason. It's not like I'm...
Yeah, it's an animal. That's your reason. She's like, I want all the animals. She wants Noah's Ark, is what she wants.
Listen, I just think that there's certain things that make sense in the time frame that they make sense. And so...
That didn't make sense.
It makes sense. And my chicks are coming this week. My other chicks are coming this week.
Oh, that's right.
So I gotta set the
We're
brooder
gonna
up,
get
which
the brooder
I
set
gotta
up.
find my heat plates out in the workshop. I meant to dig for that, and then when Jen came so last minute that everything kind of got derailed.
Yeah, she called and said, I'm on a plane tomorrow.
Yeah, she literally did. She's like, here. She sent me a text with her ticket, and it was like the next morning, and I was like, you're leaving in 12 hours. Like, you're gonna be on a plane. I was like, okay. So,
That's right. So we do,
So I
but
changed
you know,
gears.
but the chicks can be in a brooder for 4 or 5 weeks.
Longer than that. Yeah.
Yeah, minimum.
Yeah. I mean, they can be in there.
And by then it's going to be cold. So yeah, we're
Right.
going to need to feather them out even farther.
Yeah, so it'll be like 8 to 12 weeks.
So I got
the
2
breeds
months.
have.
I have 2 months.
You have 2 months.
To have something that we can move the chickens into.
Right, but that's why this weekend is.
2 months is 8 weekends.
Yeah. Do you think you can do it in 8 weekends?
It's going to take 2 or 3 weekends. At least it's going to take 3 weekends to do the foundation.
Okay.
That leaves me 5 weekends to do everything else.
We can do it.
It's tight.
We can do it.
It's tight.
We can do it.
Time flies. And that's not counting all the other stuff I have to do. I got a bunch of food plot work I got to do. I got a pond that needs burned out. I got a lot of other stuff also to do besides that.
Okay.
I mean, I can write you a list. cut me all these 2x6s of this length. And go use skill saws and stage some stuff for me. Mix some concrete by hand
If
and
I
wheelbarrow.
get Frankie as a helper, we could do it.
I don't even know how I'm going to deal with the concrete. I haven't even looked at what my options are here in our area. Where we moved from, I could go buy like a yard of concrete in a mixer that was built onto a trailer, back up to it, hook up to it, bring it home, and as long as I could back the mixer
The
up.
closest one I know about for that, I think, is Tupelo, but I don't know, because that's where the next Home Depot is.
Oh, I don't think you can get that at Home Depot.
I thought that's where you got it that one time.
No, that's from a concrete place.
Oh, then I don't know. You'll have to research that.
So then my option is I gotta rent a mixer, a smaller like motorized mixer, and I gotta buy bags of concrete and pour those bags in that mixer and mix concrete. That's not my favorite thing to do.
Yeah, but you got a 12-year-old now that can.
She can actually mix concrete pretty good in a wheelbarrow.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't do that to her for a whole footing for a 24 by 24 structure.
Yeah.
That is a lot of concrete.
That is a lot of concrete.
I mean, if I go 8 inches wide and 12 inches deep, ugh. Yeah, we're not mixing that.
Well, we'll see. We'll have to do a little bit of research and figure that out. But yeah, I'm antsy to get that started because I've got birds coming. I can brood them for a couple, 8 weeks, 2 months, but we got to get rolling on. I'm antsy to get this rolling. Like one of my jobs is taking care of the animals and getting the farm going. And so I'm like, I got to get some things in place so we can actually do this stuff. So, and there's things that I need his input on and his designing and him telling me, go, lift this up, put it here, do that. Cause I don't know from building. So I can help, but he's got to run that show. Once we agree on a design, which we've pretty much done, I need him
I prefer the building.
I need him to be the foreman.
After the foundation work.
Yeah.
I don't like concrete.
I know you don't.
I don't like
But you're going to make my
masonry
birds
work,
safe.
blocks, and like I almost, for a 24 by 24 foundation with a footing and the blocks, I almost want to hire somebody to do that. And then, I could be their helper.
We could do that. I mean, that's an option.
And then I can build everything else. I can do that.
I know.
But man, that is just a part of the job that's where I'm going to throw my back out, if anywhere.
Right. Well, we can look at seeing maybe there's somebody that can do it that we can have.
Somebody around here that's a mason that will do some work on the side.
Yeah.
On a Saturday.
Yeah. So.
Because a brick mason will come in and lay all that block for a 24 by 24 foundation, 2 blocks high. Do that in a Saturday. Done. Yeah.
And then we can get rolling on the rest of it, and then we can move on to the next project. We'll get that one nailed. Because once we get that foundation
and
done,
he would get it straight and plumb and level.
Yeah.
And I will not.
I think that might be the route we should go then.
Yeah.
Because sometimes with certain things, there's certain things that it's a good idea if it makes financial sense for you as well. If something's going to cost an arm and a leg, it's not worth it, the project, right? There's some situations where it is worth it. And pouring the foundation for anything sometimes it's worth it to have that concrete professionally poured because...
Now this foundation is not going to hold a lot of weight.
No.
It's not like I need to get an iron guy in here to do a bunch of rebar. I mean, I'll just buy some rebar and get some ties and I'll just throw a little bit down in there and bend it on the corners. Not much. I won't do like structural rebar reinforcement in there as if I were building a house.
Right. Right. Oh, these birds are coming in. Woo! They like literally hovered right behind the camera. That was cute. But yeah, I'm excited to get rolling on some of this stuff. Speaking of getting rolling, I have to go pick up a whole truck full of kids from youth group.
And I have to go cook some steaks.
And he's got to cook some steaks while I'm gone. So
you're jealous.
Yeah, you are. So thank you guys for hanging out with us here on Sippin Spillin. We appreciate you guys as always. Put your clam away. We saw him. Stop showing everyone your clam. I don't know. Anyway, hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and we will see you tomorrow.